aggressor on Ukraine. Now that Zelenskyy has proposed a face-to-face meeting with Zelenskyy, do you still want them to go first before the U.S. gets involved in talks on it?
Did President Trump's terse comment send a shock through Kyiv's leadership and public opinion by dramatically changing expectations about U.S. support at a time of heightened nuclear signaling from Moscow? Let them deal. Has Trump just thrown Zelenskyy under the bus by suggesting Ukraine should handle the crisis on its own? And what would that mean for Kyiv's diplomatic leverage and battlefield morale if Washington steps back from active leadership? Trump remains largely silent after Moscow launched a barrage of nuclear-capable missiles in a single day. And how did that silence affect Allied perceptions of U.S. resolve during one of the most alarming escalations of the conflict? From "I'll end the war" to "let them deal." Why is Trump changing his tone? And does this apparent shift reflect a new strategic calculation, political messaging to domestic audiences, or a reassessment of America's responsibilities in resolving the Ukraine war?
On Ukraine. Now that Zelenskyy has proposed a face-to-face meeting with Zelenskyy, do you still want them to go first before the U.S. gets involved in talks?
I don't want. I mean, it's let them deal. I'm the one that got him to this position, and I think that's going to get worked out. I think we're getting close to where Russia should have. It's a war that should have never happened. Would have never happened if I was president. But I think that's going to get worked out.
Will Secretary Rubio take a more active role, or do you expect it still to be Jared States?
Well, JD, everybody, we'll all be involved. We want to see it done. You know, we're not spending money. They're buying things from us, actually, at full price. With Biden, he gave them everything. It was just gave them hundreds of billions of dollars of weapons and everything else. But it's a war that should have never happened, and it's a war that has to be. Last week, 25,000 people over the course of the month, 25,000 people were killed. Russia, Ukraine, 25,000. It's not acceptable.
What are the implications of Putin publicly rejecting Zelenskyy's offer to meet, saying he sees no point? And how does that refusal interact with the broader diplomatic and military dynamics between Moscow, Kyiv, and their international backers?
I said, there's no point in meeting. The only purpose for the Ukrainian side would be to stop the advance of our armed forces. That's all. And we need agreements, not for half a year or 3 months, but for a long historic perspective. Let experts work out some decisions, and after that it's possible to meet to attend the signing of some documents. But it's necessary to find a solution first. It is a horrific crime. There wasn't a single military target there in Starobilsk. There wasn't even a military vehicle nearby. That morning, I called that, shall we say, colleague of mine who had traveled to Kyiv. I asked him what this meant. They asked for a meeting while committing such horrific crimes, the killing of children. What does this mean? He replied, I have no explanation. That letter you just mentioned, it was truly insolent in tone. What is the point of that? Is it a way to create the conditions for in-person meetings and negotiations? Or is it a way to create an atmosphere where holding any such meeting becomes effectively impossible? I believe it is the latter.
So I'll take that as a no, that you are not going to meet the author of the letter.
I see no point so far. The author of the letter mentioned my age. Well, what can I say? Of course, everyone has to consider their age. But it seems to me that many other political figures carry out their duties at my age, and some are even older than I am. One should not be afraid to stand for election and must always act within the framework of the Constitution, because holding on to power outside the Constitution is called the usurpation of power. It is a criminal offense. So, there is no need to be afraid. One should go to the polls. That is what I would advise everyone to do. Especially since there was talk in Ukraine about upcoming elections, but then things went quiet. It is unclear why. Reliable guarantors that negotiations certainly never hurt. However, I do not quite understand why the American administration, or President Trump, is being rejected for that role. The Ukraine want to receive weapons from the U.S., yet for some reason, they do not want to see the U.S. administration and President Trump acting as guarantors. That raises questions, doesn't it? We all saw Donald Trump right before the eyes of the whole world educating the author of this letter and pointing out the dress code. You see, constantly playing the Rambo first blood card might be appropriate in some situations, sure, but not everywhere.
Amid already high tensions with NATO, Russia and Belarus kicked off massive nuclear exercises on May 21st, turning large swathes of their territory into a theater for simulated atomic warfare. Moscow says 6 different nuclear-capable missile systems were launched during the drills, each chosen to showcase a different part of its strike portfolio. The exercises stretched from European Russia and Belarus all the way toward the Pacific test ranges, underscoring that this was a full-scale demonstration, not a single region event. Submarines, surface warships, strategic bombers, and ground-based launchers all took part, weaving together sea, air, and land-launched strikes in one script. Reporting around the drill suggests the goal was to underline just how diverse Russia's nuclear arsenal has become, from heavy ICBMs to tactical systems and new hypersonic weapons. All of this is happening while Moscow publicly warns NATO states against any direct military escalation, using the drills as both a signal of readiness and a tool of deterrence. As part of the exercise, Russia test-fired an Rs-24 Yars intercontinental ballistic missile, one of the core pillars of its land-based strategic deterrent. The Yars launch originated from the Plesetsk site in northern Russia and flew toward the remote Kamchatka test range, rehearsing a full-length strategic shot across the country. Russia's Rs-24 Yars is widely viewed as its primary land-based nuclear deterrent missile, designed to ensure a survivable second strike capability. It is capable of carrying multiple nuclear warheads on a single booster, allowing one launch to threaten several targets at once. Current assessments say Yars missiles equip around 8 Russian missile divisions, forming the backbone of several strategic rocket regiments. In total, roughly 150 Yars missiles are believed to be active in service, split between different bases and deployment modes. The system can be launched from both road mobile transporter erector launchers and hardened silo emplacements, complicating enemy targeting. Yars formally entered Russian service in 2010, replacing older Soviet-era designs with a more flexible, MIRV-capable platform. It is often described as a lighter counterpart to the newer Rs-28 Sarmat heavy ICBM, intended to complement, not duplicate, that system's role. With intercontinental range and a strategic strike mission, Yars sits at the heart of Russia's ability to hit distant adversaries if deterrence fails. During the same exercise window, Russia also fired an R-29RM U-2 Sineva ballistic missile from a Delta IV class submarine, adding its sea-based leg to the show of force. Russian claims say Sineva can hit targets across much of the continental United States while the submarine stays inside Arctic bastion waters, highlighting how little the boat has to move to be in range. The R-29RM U-2 Sineva is a submarine-launched ballistic missile built to keep Russia's aging Delta IV SSBN fleet relevant in the nuclear role. It is smaller and of an earlier generation than the RSM-56 Balava carried by newer Bora-class submarines, but remains a key part of the older boat's punch. Sineva is typically credited with carrying around 4 nuclear warheads and having intercontinental reach, allowing a single submarine to hold multiple cities at risk. Its range enables Delta IV submarines to strike both US and European targets from relatively secure Arctic bastion zones rather than risky forward patrols. The system was designed to extend the combat value of the Delta IV class into the mid-2030s, bridging the gap until full replacement by newer platforms. On the tactical side, Belarusian units fired Iskander-M short-range ballistic missiles at the Kapustin Yar range, rehearsing battlefield-level nuclear delivery inside a theater zone. Under the defense-sharing arrangements with Moscow, the Iskander-M is effectively Belarus' primary nuclear delivery option, with crews trained to operate the system under joint plans. Iskander-M is a mobile, short-range tactical ballistic missile system designed to move quickly, fire, and then reposition before enemy forces can respond. It is operated by both Russian and Belarusian missile brigades, making it a shared tool in their regional deterrence posture. The missile strike range is generally estimated at up to around 500 kilometers, ideal for theater-level targets. It can be fitted with either conventional or nuclear payloads, giving commanders flexibility from battlefield strikes to limited nuclear use. Iskander-M is designed for high-precision attacks on critical military infrastructure like airfields, command posts, and logistics hubs. Its maneuverable re-entry vehicle and evasive terminal profile are meant to complicate interception by modern air and missile defenses. Each missile is launched from a road mobile transporter erector launcher, allowing rapid deployment across dispersed sites. The system has been used frequently during Russia's operations in Ukraine, providing real-world combat data on its performance. Russia also added an air-delivered element, testing the Kh-47M2 Kinchul air-launched ballistic missile from a MiG-31K interceptor. Kinchul is an air-launched hypersonic ballistic missile system built to give Russian aircraft a standoff strike capability at extremely high speeds. It is carried mainly by modified MiG-31K interceptor aircraft, with some reports also mentioning two 22 cubic meters bombers as potential carriers. Open sources put its strike range at roughly 1,500 to 2,000 kilometers depending on launch profile and carrier. Russian claims say the missile can travel at speeds above Mach 10, making interception very challenging for many existing defense systems. It is designed to carry either conventional or nuclear warheads, allowing both precision conventional strikes and strategic deterrent roles. Kinjal is believed to be capable of maneuvering during the terminal attack phase, further complicating defensive calculations. Russia has used Kinjal repeatedly in its operations against Ukraine, testing both its effectiveness and the West's air defense responses. Overall, the system is intended to punch through advanced air defense networks and threaten high-value targets deep behind the front lines. Together, the Iskander and Kinjal launches underscored how Russia's tactical systems could be used to deliver nuclear strikes inside regional theater zones without resorting to its heaviest ICBMs. Strategic Aviation joined in as a Tu-95MS bomber launched long-range cruise missiles, demonstrating the airborne leg of Russia's nuclear triad. The missiles were widely assumed to be Kh-101 or Kh-102 types, stealth-enhanced, long-range weapons tailored for deep strikes. The Kh-101 and Kh-102 are long-range, air-launched strategic cruise missiles built to give Russian bombers global reach against high-value targets. They are primarily launched from Tu-95MS strategic bombers, and in some cases from Tu-160 aircraft. The Kh-101 variant carries a conventional warhead and is used for deep precision strikes on critical infrastructure. The Kh-102 serves as the nuclear-capable counterpart, designed to deliver a nuclear payload at intercontinental ranges. Their operational range is often estimated near 5,000 kilometers, allowing launches far from enemy air defense zones. The missiles incorporate radar-evading features and terrain-following flight profiles to reduce detection and interception chances. They have been used extensively in Russia's long-range strike campaigns, including during operations in Ukraine. As part of the airborne leg of the triad, they are a key component of Russia's nuclear and conventional deterrent posture. At sea, Russia added a naval hypersonic layer by firing a 3M-22 Zircon missile from the frigate Admiral Gorshkov. Reports emphasize that Zircon is built to hit both high-value ships and land targets, giving surface combatants a powerful dual-role strike option. Moscow claims Zircon can reach about Mach 9, arguing that such speeds make it extremely difficult for current air and missile defense systems to track and intercept. The 3M-22 Zircon is a hypersonic cruise missile launched from surface warships and, in future, submarines. It is reported to travel at speeds reaching roughly Mach 9, drastically reducing reaction time for defenders. Its range is estimated at more than 1,000 kilometers, allowing Russian ships to threaten targets well beyond the horizon. Zircon can carry either conventional or, potentially, nuclear warheads, giving it both tactical and strategic applications. It is designed for high-speed anti-ship missions and precision land attack roles, targeting carrier groups and coastal infrastructure. Russian statements say Zircon has already been tested against ground targets in the Ukraine conflict, showcasing its versatility. The missile can also be deployed from Yasen-class attack submarines, extending its reach underwater and complicating NATO's maritime calculus. Its relatively compact size lets frigates and other surface combatants carry multiple rounds, enabling mass salvos from a single ship. Taken together, the 6 missile launches showcased every leg of Russia's nuclear delivery triad, from land-based ICBMs to submarine and shipborne weapons and air-launch systems. Land, sea, and air platforms were woven into a single scripted demonstration of readiness and escalation, designed to remind NATO that any future confrontation will not be limited to one domain.